This is the first time going live in 2026. I'm looking forward to a good year. It's late. We're doing a really late night stream tonight, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to thank everybody for getting me over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's huge for me. I've been waiting a while for this. I've been working towards this for a while, so that is one more step towards monetization. It's one more step to being able to make money over on YouTube. As some of you might already know, I'm already monetized on Facebook, but and the money's coming in slow, fractions of a penny at a time, but we're getting somewhere. And my next step to getting paid over on YouTube is going to be increasing my watch time to over 3,000 valid hours of watch time. So I'm going to want to go live a little bit more here just to try to build up the watch time. It's really tough anymore between work and the kids, as always. And some of you might notice some of these videos I've been working on have been really, really analytical and really research heavy. So I've just like dedicated most of my time to those videos. And I do want to go live more. I do want to do more Q&A sessions, but I also plan on going live and having actual discussions with people face to face. So I got to figure out a way to allow people to join here through Restream or through YouTube or whatever. And then we can actually talk face to face. I got to get more equipped to be able to have people actually join these live sessions and jump up live with their camera or whatever, so we can really talk about these things. There's a lot of debates I'd like to welcome for the future, and a lot of people I'd like to invite up here. Still don't have the right computer or the right setup to really get any of this done, but I'm working on it, and we will get there. And now that I have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, it's more valuable for me to try to build up this watch time. So tonight, I just want to talk about some of that, some of the videos I have coming up, and I'm going to answer some questions and some common comments that I get from people under some of the videos. Some questions like, where did the universe come from? How do we get something from nothing? What do I think about the fine-tuning of the universe, the so-called fine-tuning? We'll talk a little bit about Pascal's wager, morality from an atheist versus a theistic perspective, the regular rules of religion, and maybe we could get into some biblical history, maybe some biological evolution, questions like that. These are things that have been recurring discussions underneath some of my videos that I would like to talk about. But I'm not going to be up here too late. Maybe I'll be up here for about an hour or so, depending on how it goes. I don't expect most of you to show up here. I know it's too late for most people. It's a Sunday night. And that's okay. I think I'm gonna try to tag some people in this and maybe just get the word out there as soon as I see it pop up. I don't see it on Facebook yet. Okay, we're here. Yeah, let me tag some people, but tonight really I just want to say thank you, and I really just want to say how much I appreciate everybody showing all the love. It's been increasing over on Facebook. I mean, we all know Facebook is slow, but it's been working. You're gonna hear an echo for a second. I'm gonna test my audio over on Facebook and see how this sounds. For a second, I'm gonna test my audio. Okay, a few seconds lagging, but it sounds good. All right, so I'm not so sure if I should tag people in this. It might be too late, but hey, we'll go for it anyway. I'm just grateful to be able to have this opportunity. I don't know why the title says what it says on Facebook. And I also don't know don't know how I can get people to join the live, or if I can get people to join while I'm live. There's got to be a way to do it. We might not be able to do it through Restream, but that's on you guys. You know, I got to learn how to set up goals and stuff. I don't really know. I don't really know how to do that. I'm going to set up a goal for 10 stars, which really ain't asking for much, but yeah, I'm just getting used to this platform, Restream, and like I said, I haven't been live in a while, so I need to re-familiarize myself with some of these things. And I mean, once I can do it on the computer, it's going to be a lot better, but okay, so we're here on YouTube. I'm just going to throw up the first comment. All right, looking good. Looking good. How's everyone doing tonight? If any of you guys have any questions, definitely now would probably be the best time to ask. I don't know when I'm going to be live again. I'm going to try to aim for these every Sunday. But I kind of want to talk about the trajectory of this channel so far too, because I mean, I started this channel as a way to express some of the things that I learned from studying dreams and psychology over the years. And it's transformed into working on your end. Thank you, Halseer. Thank you. That's awesome to know. I appreciate that. How do I respond? I can't do that. All right, whatever. We're good. So, you know, the trajectory of this channel has kind of changed a little bit. I can't just stick to like dream psychology as we know, because along with dreams comes symbolism and history, ancient history. And as I dive into those topics, I'm getting a lot of pushback from theists, you know, as I've been expressing recently. You know, I tried to take a relatively neutral and balanced stance on that, but it doesn't seem to really get me anywhere riding that middle ground. So I gotta be honest, and I gotta be open about these things. And you know, every time that a Christian wants to comment and tell me that whatever ancient religion I might be talking about is false and based on devils, I just have to remind them how false their belief system is too. You know, we're not playing nice anymore. I mean, of course, it's all respect, and I just want to have good conversations here, but we got some questions to answer, because as I've been gaining followers here across these different platforms, I'm getting different videos sent to me from different people. I can't stitch every video and reply and respond to all of them. You know, I can't remix every single video that people send me. And I also don't have time to go through in the comment sections or in the messages and type out paragraphs to respond to all of these people. It's just way too much. So I'm going to cover some of that here in this live session, just to quickly respond to some of these things. And in the future, I will be releasing deep dives on that. So with that being said, the next video that you know that way too well. Do you understand? Ironically, you're being neutral and not sided. Right. That's actually what's funny about it, is that I can equally appreciate the Christian mythology, and I do talk about that and the good aspects of it and the things you can learn from it, metaphorically, poetically. You know, I do mention that. But I also equally appreciate other mythologies. I love mythology. I love the history. I think literature is just fascinating, the broad scope of it. And I think when they try to hyper focus on that one aspect of it, the obviously I live in a nation that's dominated by Christian theology, and that's what I hear the most of. I don't get much pushback from Muslims or Jews. I mean, I might in the future, but at the time, it's dominantly it's just the Christians that are flooding my videos and reporting them and trying to get them taken down and just spreading a lot of hate, calling me a devil and all that. So instead of like being so nice and and passive about it, I've been a little bit more direct. And I mean, I've got a new study Bible back there that I've been working on. You are a devil worshiper. No, it's history and studying humanities and culture. Right, right. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate that and see that, because I would never promote something that's inherently negative. It's has nothing to do with that. And I mean, that being said, I was trying to welcome someone up here to a live debate. Most people just want to keep it in the messages or in the comment sections, and they don't want to have an actual conversation, because it's, in the messages and in the comments, it's really easy for them to just ignore what you say and just hit you with a bunch of word salads. But when you're actually face to face with someone, you can hold them to that question. I mean, at least that's how I feel. And yeah, so this one guy I work with, there's a few different people I work with that I want to invite up here for conversations, but the one guy I work with in particular, as soon as we got into some of this, that was his exact line, basically. Like, not that I was a devil worshiper, but he just automatically switched to the negative of it, telling me that I just want to be able to sin and things like that. And he seemed like so disgusted with me that I was just mentioning how I find contradictions in his Bible. And he got really offended. And, he thinks I just want to be able to lie, cheat, and steal with no consequences. And obviously that's not the case. That's one of the issues with that religion in particular, is that Christianity forces you to assume the worst in people if they don't believe in your theology. If they don't think like you do, then there must be something wrong with them. Either they don't have divine inspiration, or they haven't received revelation, or they're of the devil, or they're possessed by demons, or they're inspired by demons. I've heard all of these things. Overly steeped in sin. I get that one a lot. um And it's just crazy to me, because we all know that there's many, many Christians out there that also do those things. And of course, they'll tell me, oh, well, they're not real Christians, but, it's just the no true Scotsman fallacy. Oh, sin, the opinionated wrong, and also other name of the moon. Right, 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 right. So I don't really, I try not to feed into that negative aspect of it so much, but it's like, first of all, like I don't really think that I'm that type of person that just wants to go, like, I don't party, I don't do things like that. I don't steal. I've never cheated on my girl. I've never cheated on any female I've ever been with. So, that was one of the things he said to me, like, you you just want to be able to commit adultery, and like, if I wanted to do all of those things without zero consequences, it'd be a lot easier to be a Christian, because then, if you believe in just faith, even faith plus works, you can do all of those sins and then just accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and you'll be forgiven. So if anything, it's a lot easier to do all of those horrible things if you're a Christian and feel okay, because, God will forgive all. In my mentality, the way that I think, what I believe is that those things are not good no matter what. And the only person that can forgive you for your sins is the person that you've done wrong. And it's up to them whether or not they want to forgive you. There is no higher power that can forgive me for doing something horrible to someone else. If that person doesn't forgive me, then it doesn't matter how a higher power feels. But I mean, that's not the point here. The other thing that this same person said to me, and I really hope he ends up watching this, because I would love to have a actual discussion with him. It's tough to talk about these things at work because I'm busy. I don't have time to get into these discussions with people. So I keep inviting him up here, and I understand a lot of these people. Some of them are older, and they're not all like very tech savvy, so they might not feel comfortable jumping up on a live stream. They also might think I'm trying to corner them and bait them into, but that's not the point. I'm not going to try to make anyone look bad. Uh, I don't automatically assume that there's something wrong with that person the way that he assumed it about me. But I really do enjoy these discussions. I really think these are important things to talk about. I like the topic. I try to stay away from politics as much as possible. But talking about ancient symbolism and history and psychology, I can't avoid religion because it is kind of baked into these things. It's just been around for so long, and mythology fascinates me, like I always say, and like so these things are unavoidable. So I'm just gonna dive into it there, and I also appreciate it because with religion, and I say this a lot, I relate even these Christians who are completely opposed to me and the things that I talk about. In a lot of ways, I relate to them more than I do with just the cynical, shallow atheist. The person who's just going through the motions of their everyday life and they don't really think about these deeper questions. I could talk to Christians about the origins of the universe and they'll talk to me about it. I fundamentally disagree with their outcome. I fundamentally disagree with their conclusions, but at least they're interested enough to ask those questions and they realize that those are important questions, which might be what pushed them towards that religion because the religion promises to answer those questions. Not just the origin of the universe, but, life coming from non life. How did life begin? These deep questions of morality, right and wrong, all of these things, and then just historical questions, things about ancient history. All of these things come along with religious beliefs, and religious people are interested in these things, at least enough to try to answer those questions with the Bible or whatever. And I'm also interested in the deepest questions of humanity, which all of that comes along with religion. So I guess it's kind of unavoidable, even though I don't strictly want to talk about these things. I like to talk about a wide variety of topics. Any of the things that you might find on my channel: psychology, history, symbolism, dreams, physics, cosmology. These are the topics I talk about anyway. And since every religious person thinks they have an answer for it, it ends up being a debate. So I'm gonna keep trying to go live here, and I'll probably start having live debates where I invite people up. I'll always be welcome to that. It's tough to find people to get up here, but you know, and of course I'm gonna work on videos to answer the common questions I get from these religious people, and we could go through some of them real quick just off the top of my head. Like one of the main ones I get is that people think I believe is that we all came from nothing. Like I believe that we've got something from nothing. Where did the universe come from? It just poofed out of absolutely nothing. And they think I'm crazy for believing that. I don't believe that. And I don't know anybody that believes that. I follow a lot of cosmologists. I listen to a lot of scholarly lectures. I read a lot of the books here. I mean, last year I worked through Stephen Hawking's Universe in a Nutshell. I mean, nobody really believes that the universe came from nothing. not atheists and not theists. If anything, the people who believe in their God believe more that something came from nothing. And because I know that because I talk to them and they talk about creation ex nihilo, like creation from nothing. And that's not even in the Bible. Even the Bible doesn't teach that. There were waters and there was the great deep that God supposedly formed our universe from, even in the Bible. The idea of God creating the universe from nothing was a later concept that appeared in Christian theology long after the Bible was finished and was most likely mostly inspired from some of the Greek philosophy, but that's a different conversation. My point is that nobody really believes the universe came from nothing. They talk about the Big Bang, of course. And yes, most of us, we do accept the Big Bang. I do believe in the Big Bang, but the Big Bang doesn't say what came before the Big Bang. The Big Bang is strictly a theory of inflation, that the universe is expanding. And if you put that in reverse, yes, the universe would have been in a hot, dense state at one point. But we don't know what came before that. Halcyon, I'm not sure, or if I'm not exactly sure who you are. Are you someone that I know personally, or I mean, I appreciate it. You said least. Wait, let me see real quick. Okay, yeah, you said least for me. I have an unorganized belief system. I have 15 years of occult study with studies in Hinduism and Vedic astrology. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that gives you a great perspective on these things. I mean, and yeah, that's what I was into for the longest time too, was the occultic studies, and I also think that just Hinduism in general, a lot of the Vedic systems of belief. Oh, you were on my live on TikTok before. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the beliefs of Hinduism are so fascinating to me. And I think they have a lot more valid beliefs. And I can get with the occultic beliefs, and I can get with a lot of the more Eastern mystic type of belief systems, more so than the Abrahamic beliefs. And so, and a lot of people, that's another comment that I've gotten from someone, was like, well, why don't I try to disprove all these other belief systems? Why does it seem like I'm always trying to debunk Christianity? And I'm not at all. It's just that Christians always feel that way. If I'm talking about actual history and other belief systems, they just automatically think that I'm going against them. So and there's more of them, and they're fairly antagonistic. So it might seem that way, and then I end up responding to them. So that's what it's turned into. Now, if I had a bunch of people trying to shove Vedic astrology down my throat, I would probably be finding ways to work through that. But from what I've experienced, people who hold those beliefs, a lot of these occultic beliefs and a lot of the neo-pagan types of beliefs, the Wicca, the New Age, the astrology, the Eastern mysticism, the Buddhists, all that stuff, those people are not so antagonistic. They don't think that you're gonna burn in hell for eternity if you don't believe in what they believe. So like they're not jumping down my throat so much. And I get with those people, and I've done some reading on a lot of those things, so I appreciate them more, and that's what's given me a different perspective on Christianity, because it's not like I've never looked into Christianity. I've read the Bible multiple times, and I'm working on a different translation right now. Uh, I don't know. Okay, it's back there. I got myself a Catholic Bible. It includes the Apocrypha. So I'm trying to get through the Apocrypha. I'm trying to get away from the King James translations because they're trash. I didn't know that for a long time, but I know that now. You said a lot of Vedic is symbolism. and applying it. For example, Venus can raise the dead, which means a Venus-dominated person can help uplift another exceptionally well. Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I get that. And I think that's amazing. And I think with pretty much any theology, if you can, or any belief system, if you can approach it symbolically, then there's always power in that. I mean, that's the power of the human mind is our ability to take these concepts and form them into abstractions that apply to us. My issue is with the literalism, so of course, and that even goes with Christianity. If someone wants to take it all as symbolic, that's great. I think it's the right way to do it. The story of Genesis, Adam and Eve, metaphorically, symbolically, it's a great story. There's a lot of truth to it. But if in any literal sense, it's complete nonsense, and the two different accounts of Genesis completely contradict each other. So even for Christians who approach their beliefs completely symbolically, that's cool. I got no beef with that. I can't even how can you argue with that? I can't argue with that. If you want to take things metaphorically and find ways to apply them, that's fascinating. That's powerful. That's more of a statement of the power of human psychology to me than any other transcendental force. But yeah, no, I feel you with the Vedic symbolism. I don't, or with the Vedic astrology. I don't necessarily know much about Vedic astrology specifically, but that is something I would love to learn more about. I have looked into astrology in general quite a bit, and I've whatever. I've talked enough about that in the past. So, what you yapping about? I'm yapping about religion, history, symbolism. So if you're interested in any of those things, join the conversation. So, but being all, watch me make this dead guy come to life, waves arms randomly, nothing happens. That's when it is absurd. I agree 100%. It is absurd when you try to make these outlandish supernatural claims and expect me to accept them based on no evidence and no logic. I do appreciate some of the logical arguments that people bring to the table. I just don't appreciate the fact that people believe them and think that they're strong or valid arguments. But yeah, that stuff is absolutely absurd. So like the first argument, the something from nothing. What coast you're on? I'm on the East Coast, Northeast, and it's cold. It's been a rough winter so far. We've been getting hit pretty hard. That's another reason why I haven't had much time to go live. In all my spare time, I've been chopping wood, basically. I've been working extra overtime to pay the bills. And in my spare time, I'm either chopping wood or dealing with the kids. All the kids do sports. They all do extracurricular things. So very time consuming. It's tough to find the chance to go live like this. But I mean, I'm grateful. And that's the other thing. I mean, some of the people who expect me to respond to these videos that they're sending, I feel like some of these people think that I do this full time or something, but not at all. I mean, I work 50, 60 hours a week, maybe more sometimes. And, this is just something I've started this to try to express some of these ideas I have. And then as I'm doing deep dives into these topics, I want to share these things. And I'm really just hoping that I can learn and that all of you guys can learn along with me. And, oh, you up there? I'm in Jersey. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, not far. I'm not far from there at all. Yep, been staying very busy, always. I got to wake up at 4 in the morning every morning for work, and it's just I would like to go live after work some days, but it's tough. It's draining, and getting the kids to take their showers and do their homework and clean up the house and but life is good. I couldn't be more grateful for where I am or what I got, but I'm just hoping now that I'm over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, if I could get that watch time up, the more money I can make doing this, the less I'll have to do overtime at work. And then eventually I can quit that warehouse job and maybe just educate myself and help educate others in the process. And I like having these discussions, so that's why I'm going to be opening up these live sessions for people to join and have debates. I'll be willing to debate people on any of these topics. There were certain things I want to stay away from. I don't want to get into the political debates so much because I'm admittedly pretty ignorant when it comes to modern politics. And it's not a good thing. And I know I do try to stay informed, and I should try to stay informed more on current political things. But it's just tough. I mean, there's so much to know, there's so much to learn, there's so much to watch, and so much to read. And I'm overwhelmed with information. So, if when I'm working on a video, I fully dedicate myself to studying that topic, and I don't really have time to watch the news or anything. But yeah, Pretty Little Brownie, thank you. Thanks for joining. This is gonna be, I guess, how long have we been up here? Half hour so far. All right, well, I just wanted to talk about that something from nothing. That was one thing. How Siri, you said you're doing the right thing going live for watch time. Each viewer equals counting of watch time per viewer. 5 viewers watching for 1 hour equals 5 hours. I hope so. I do hope that's the case. I don't know exactly how the watch time gets converted because, it said I need 3,000 valid hours of public watch time. So I guess, yeah, that would count for that. That makes sense. And yeah, I've heard that going live helps to boost the watch time. So I'm going to keep doing this. I used to go live every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And back when I was doing that, I didn't even have the 1,000 subscribers. So that was really just for the discussion. But now I got to do it for the watch time. And also, I enjoy these topics. I enjoy these discussions. And I've gotten a lot of people that it does. That's how I got my watch time up. Okay, good to know. That's good to know. And a lot of people literally tell me that they're willing to debate. And they, I don't go live enough for them to catch me live to join the debate. So I need to do this more regularly so people know when to catch me so they can hop up and have these discussions. So my take on something from nothing is that I don't personally know anyone who really believes that something came from nothing. I know when a lot of religious people say it, they talk about the Big Bang. But there was a recent survey done on like 80 something cosmologists, and this survey showed that all of the overwhelming majority of cosmologists don't think that something came from nothing, or at least they say the Big Bang doesn't say anything about what was before the Big Bang. So, and when I tell people that I don't think something came from nothing, they think that I don't accept the Big Bang. Nah, we all pretty much accept the Big Bang, unless you're like a flat earther or something maybe, but we accept the Big Bang, but it doesn't say anything about where everything came from. Even the most rudimentary understandings of the Big Bang only show that at the very least you have to say the universe used to be a singularity. And I was really into the singularity concept for a while. Now I understand that I was like 80 years in the past with that. There's been a lot of recent data that doesn't support the singularity. But my take on something from nothing is that Basically, the first law of thermodynamics, energy and mass can never be created or destroyed. They only change form. So you can't get something from nothing. We know that we have something, therefore there was never nothing. That's what I believe. I think, atoms forming out of absolutely nothing just makes absolutely no sense. You said, I think it was Halcyon says, I think it was Homer who wrote, from chaos came Nyx. I don't know how to say that. Yeah. Chaos being that what man cannot comprehend, Nyx being night, thought provoking. Yeah, yeah. No, I like that. I like that. Chaos came from what man cannot comprehend. Yeah. Or chaos is what man cannot comprehend coming from night. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was my point, was that even Christianity in the Bible doesn't teach that something came from nothing. The idea of nothing coming from something, creation ex nihilo, was adopted later on in Christian theology. There's nothing in the Bible about that. And, even in the beginning of Genesis, God, when God is creating, it's, you have the waters and you have the great deep. So there's something already there in Genesis that God is creating the universe from. And even, in the creation from nothing was adopted later on, mostly inspired from Greek philosophy. So some Christians like to argue that God literally made the universe out of nothing, but they don't realize that even they don't think the universe came from nothing, because they think one way or another that it came from God. So they don't think that there was ever nothing. I don't think there was ever nothing. I just don't think there was the God. I just think that you can't get something from nothing. Therefore, there's always been something and it just changes form. The only difference between those two belief systems is that they have to insert that imaginary being. Whereas I'm just saying this is, the one thing that I believe in is the thing that we both agree is here and around us. Adam came from dirt. Besides that, I used to think when I was much younger that the Big Bang was the universe taking a fart. And then here we are. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Adam was made from dirt, which is based on more ancient mythology. But so my idea about something from nothing, we talk about the Big Bang and what was before the Big Bang. There's a bunch of different theories about what caused the Big Bang and, the ultimate fundamental nature of our universe. Maybe El and Asherah would know. Yahweh's and Baal's father and mother, respectfully. Absolutely. Absolutely. El and Asherah would definitely be Yahweh and Baal's father and mother. What makes that even weirder is that Yahweh ended up hooking up with Asherah after they got rid of El in the Canaanite pantheon, and Yahweh was worshipped alongside Asherah after that. And Asherah was Yahweh's divine consort after they kind of pushed El out of the picture, and Yahweh adopted the traits from El and Baal or Baal. Yahweh adopted the storm characteristics from Baal, and he adopted the supremacy, the supreme high fatherly aspects from El. And that's where we get a lot of our understanding of Yahweh from, was inspired from El and Baal. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's lots of theories on what caused the Big Bang and where the Big Bang come from. None of them say that there was ever nothing. We got the Big Bounce model, we got the Big Bang, Big Crunch model, we got the quantum foam model. Yes, none of these things have been confirmed. These are cosmological sized questions, and we don't have the tools yet to say whether or not any of them are true, but all of them are supported by some mathematics and evidence, and all of them make more sense than the biblical creation story. So, whether or not we can say definitively if any of them are true, any of them make more sense than God poofing the universe, just dividing the heavens from the water, right? Like, come on. The Big Bang Big Crunch model just says that the Big Bang happened, and right now, the recent DESI data does show that the rate of expansion of the universe is slowing down, meaning that everything is spreading out, but the speed that it's spreading out at is slowing down. So it's not spreading out as fast as it once was. That's measurable, that's observable. We see that, that's undeniable. But, with that being said, if it keeps slowing down, eventually it's reasonable to assume that it would eventually stop. And if that happens, it's likely to collapse back in on itself. And where it would collapse back in on would be the single spot of highest gravity. And, gravity will eventually pull everything back into that spot and may cause another Big Bang. Whether or not that's happening with just our observable universe, like it could be one Big Bang and Big Crunch repeatedly, cyclically, we don't know. That's a possibility. There's definitely a lot of evidence to support that. Or there could be lots of Big Bangs and Big Crunches going on way out there, far beyond our expansive understanding. There may be potentially infinite Big Bangs and Big Crunches happening all over. This could go along with the multiverse theory, again, which has more evidence and more data and makes more sense than any type of biblical creation story. I'm not saying I believe in the Big Bang, Big Crunch. I think it's relatively reasonable. Hinduism has their own with Shakti, Devi, Supreme Goddess, and along with Brahma Dev emerging from a lotus, which the lotus grows from the unknown below. That's beautiful, Before I started working on the symbolism video that I'm working on right now, I was going to do that. I started taking some rough notes, and I was going to do a full video on all of the different creation mythologies from different cultures around the world. And I wanted to do the first half just explaining all the different creation stories. And then I wanted to do like the second half of the video comparing and contrasting those stories so we can connect some dots between the stories and see where they match up and then where they differ. I think that'd be a really fun idea. Oh, you said you subscribed, but got to go to bed. Keep doing this. You have the voice and humility for it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Keep going and do what's best for you to balance your life with your family. Peace and love, pretty little brownie. I really appreciate that. That's awesome to know. Thank you for the subscription, and you'll definitely be seeing more of this in the future. Keep an eye out for the next upcoming video on symbolism. And I hope you sleep well and have some amazing dreams. And sometime, we could talk about dreams because I do a lot of live streams just strictly on that. So thank you. But yeah, so so the next video is going to be the psychology of symbolism. I'm going to talk about how shapes and colors and sounds all kind of come together in the human mind to form different reactions by us mentally. It's great. We're going to talk about all types of stuff. Well, I'm not going to talk about all of it here because that's going to be its own deep dive, but it's going to be the psychology of symbolism. And that's only going to be a precursor to the next big video that I'm working on, which is just going to be symbols and their meanings. And I'm going to talk about as many different symbols as I can possibly fit in that video. I'm going to show the different images of the symbols, and then I'll explain them from the perspective of different cultures. So I'm not coming from a one-sided, like I'm not just going to talk about occultic symbolism. I will talk about the occultic beliefs of that symbol, but we'll also talk about the different religious beliefs of that symbol. And then we're also going to talk about the literal scientific effects, psychological effects of those symbols, because that's a real thing. It's systematical and also personal with dream symbology. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what we're going to talk about in general, not just with dreams, but just symbols in general are systematical and personal. But we're going to talk about archetypes, and we're going to talk about the objective perspective and the subjectivity of it, because symbols are always open to individual interpretation, but there is also cultural and historical significance to them that might have an underlying effect on our psychology towards them. So, but yeah, that's what the next video is going to be about, the psychology of symbolism, how symbols affect us at the most fundamental levels, just so people can understand. And I mean, just for example, we know that rounded, more oblong, rounded, soft shapes have a more gentle reaction on our end. And pointed, angular, sharp looking shapes have a more urgent and tense reaction on our end. And this has been shown in countless experiments. We're going to talk about it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Kiki Boba experiment, but there's a really cool experiment, and I've even done this with my kids, where they show like a picture, and I'm gonna show this in the upcoming videos. I don't want to talk too much about it here, but it's fascinating to me. You show a picture of like a pointy, sharp, angled object, and then you show a picture of like a soft, curved, rounded object, and then I'll show the names Kiki and the names Boba, and then you ask people to pick which word goes with which shape. So it's a pointed, angular object, and then a rounded, curved object, and then the two different words, Kiki and Boba, and which name would go with which shape. And it's fascinating to me. Yes, name the shape. Who is who? Yeah. And, and this has been done across different cultures, different languages, for people of different ages, even people that can't read, that don't even know how to read or write, even really young kids. And 85 to 98% of the people match the name Boba with the round, curved shape, and they'll match the name Kiki with the pointed, angular shape. And there's something to this, and it's called phonoaesthetics. So we have a tendency through evolution and psychology and genetic predisposition and personal experience. All of these things come together to form our opinion on these things. So it's not a universal. It's never universal. If someone has had a more pleasant experiences with pointy things, and they might be drawn towards that. But and it's even reflected in sound. So when you say the word Boba and you say the word Kiki, you can look at the wave pattern of that sound, and the wave patterns actually reflect the shapes that we're connecting them to. More percussive and sharp words make more spiky, close together waves. And then, softer, more drawn out sounds make a more spread out, less pointy, jagged waveform. So, it's the difference between listening to a meditation song that's a like flutes and nature sounds compared to listening to a heavy metal song. You know, if you look at those things and you look at the wave patterns of them, those wave patterns reflect the same feelings that we get from them, which is just, it's interesting, and it's has something to do with our evolution. You know, rounded things that are more rounded and curved are more comfortable and less dangerous. Things that are spiky, like the kiki shape, you know, that we subconsciously connect those things more with, you know, thorns, spikes, steep cliffs, all of those things in nature are more dangerous to us. So, but and then I'm also going to talk about, and I do have notes here on my computer. I could pull them up and start going through them, but I'm just going to save it for the video. And then there's also the interesting thing about, like, if you can connect different flavors with different adjectives, you know, let me explain, like, similar to the Kiki Boba, but in this sense, I would ask someone, oh, you said, yep, I was typing that out. Audio at a hertz level does influence. Oh, and it does. And with that being said, yeah, like, so like the heavy metal music will, not only are the wave patterns more pointy and you know, more spiked, but they also, yeah, the way they affect us, they'll make us feel more tense. They'll, you know, they'll pique our anxiety. You know, that's people who really get engulfed in heavy metal music. That's just a dopamine rush from, you know, these, the same way that people are addicted to adrenaline almost, you know. And, you know, softer, more melodic sounds are more likely to calm you down. And then these things are reflected. You can use this understanding when you're having a conversation with someone. If you want to calm someone down, it's best for you to start talking in a lower, calmer tone, which would be reflected in the wave patterns of your voice and will also be reflected in the words that you use, because more you know, more aggressive words have more of those spikes, you know, more of those hard consonants and things like that. And it's, you know, you can also see it in a lot of the main characters of movies, you know, like the Kiki and the Boba. You got like Scar and Mufasa, you know. And you know, and in this field of study, they talk about, you know, I'm not going to get too much into it. I also get into J.R.R. Tolkien, and because he really studied these things, he actually made some of these things more popular. But you could see it in the way that he, you know, he created the Elvish language. Oh, you said, I have tested also the NASA recording of Venus does slightly influence roses and water to sway faintly. That's interesting. What do you mean the NASA recording of Venus? You mean the audio files that they've converted into sound from different planets? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, they've I mean, they've tested sounds on plants. I actually have a video about that. I didn't know about using the NASA recording to influence roses and water to sway faintly. That's fascinating. But yeah, there's an undeniable relationship between language, words, sounds, and emotions. And that's what symbolism is all about. So that's why before I make the full video, yes, that one. Yeah, that's awesome. That stuff is fascinating to me. But so before I make the video on symbols and their meanings, I have to do a deep dive on the psychology of symbolism, because I don't think people understand how powerful it is, and you know how to implement those things practically in their everyday life, because this isn't just relevant for understanding the symbolism in dreams, although that's one of the main reasons I'm doing it. I have a free ebook out, actually, that anyone could go on my link tree and find it. You just got to put in your email, and you'll get the free download for the ebook on how to remember your dreams and how to master them more. But none of that really matters if you don't understand the symbolism behind them. And I have a lot of people ask me about dreams that they've had, and they ask me what those dreams mean. I've been through that a lot in these live sessions and stuff. And I always try to give people the truth about it, that like, you don't want to go to someone and ask them what your dream means. Now, it can help. It can help to talk to someone who understands archetypes and psychology and symbolism, and they might help you. They might help you understand it more personally, but like, the best dream interpreter is yourself. Nobody knows you better than you. Nobody knows how you respond to certain things better than you do. Nobody knows every detail of your life to know what you might be subconsciously connecting something with. So that's something that people have to work through personally. And I think the best way to do that is to understand symbols yourself. So instead of going through and answering everybody and translating their dream for them, I want to help people be able to translate their dreams for themselves so they don't have to rely on someone else, because people can tell you almost anything and they can convince you that it's true about you, even if it's not. They can find a few things, make a few connections for you, just like cold reading, the way that these psychic mediums do it. It's really easy. And I've got to admit, I've done it to people experimentally, and I mean, the two people I did it to, we talked about it afterwards, but I wanted to see if I could convince them that their dream had some underlying message and convince them that it was totally true. And then I wanted to show them afterwards how I completely made that up and how susceptible we can be to confirmation bias and the Dunning-Kruger effect and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's going to be the next video. The something from nothing thing. I don't know if I really went over that, but that's something I'm going to make a full video about, because I still can't believe that so many people think that, if you don't believe in the God, specifically the Abrahamic God, that you must think that something came from nothing. Nobody really thinks that. At least no one that I've ever seen or heard of or talked to. Even Lawrence Krauss, the guy who crowned the term Big Bang, he popularized it. And I know it was a Catholic priest that first came up with the concept, but Lawrence Krauss wrote his book called, I think it's called The Universe from Nothing. And that's where a lot of religious believers have gotten that misconception. But even in that book, I think it's the third chapter. He got into it pretty soon, pretty early in the book. He explains that when he says nothing, he doesn't mean literally nothing, obviously, because nothing can't exist by definition. So regardless, the other one is like the fine-tuning of the universe. I will be getting into that in future videos. Fine-tuning is not a good argument for a God in any type of way. First of all, we can argue that it's not finely tuned. It is mostly chaos. But at the end of the day, there's no, everything is laid out according to these different laws of physics. And these are not like laws that someone had to come up with, these are physical tendencies and properties of this universe. That's all they are. And that's how things have become the way that they are. But if you really want to argue, I mean, I would argue that the universe is finely tuned by a lot of these different physical tendencies, these different laws of physics. But you can't tell me that it's finely tuned by some conscious agent. I could never believe that, because finely tuned for what? Most of the time they want to say that the universe is finely tuned for life. But that's crazy because everywhere we look, there's not life. Now, I do think there's definitely, most likely, probably lots of other life out there in the universe, but it seems to be sparse, at least. Like, if you want to make the argument that the universe is finely tuned for life, then we should see life on every planet. You know, the vast majority of what we see around us is cold and dark and lifeless. So that doesn't really work. If you want to just say like our planet is finely tuned for life, that's cool too, except for the vast majority of this planet's history, there wasn't life. And in the future of this planet's history, in the future of this planet, there probably won't be life for a long time. Like I said, I mean, I do believe that there's definitely other planets with other life, most likely. I mean, I can't say for sure, obviously, but I think it's reasonable to assume that. And like then you got to ask, finely tuned for what life? Because what these religious people are usually pointing towards is that this universe or this world were finely tuned for humans, for us. Well, like that's cool, except what about all the things that aren't? You know, it almost seems like this life has emerged, these biological systems emerged in spite of all of the chaos. Uh, if the earth was finely tuned for life, then why does the majority of the water kill us? You know, like why would a god say, sure, all of you living organisms, you need water to survive. How about I make 70% of it poisonous for you? Uh, or I mean, especially humans in general. There's nowhere that we can live on this planet that won't suffer from some form of natural disasters at some point. There's so many things out there in nature that will kill us. Now, I'm not trying to be cynical about nature or the world. I mean, I do think nature provides so many amazing things for us, but if there was an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful creator that intentionally did this, this is not what we would expect. We would not expect the majority of the water to be poisonous for us. We would not expect to be so susceptible to things like cancer and disease. I mean, the human eye, they think, is finely tuned. I mean, the vast majority of people are going to end up needing glasses. Like, could have been more finely tuned. And there's also a lot of biological arguments for that, about the way that the body is designed and stuff. But like, I do think that these things have come together from a fascinating conglomeration of universal relationships. It doesn't take the magic out of it, the fact that we're here and that it wasn't some dude in the sky or in some imaginary realm that consciously did this. And then, that takes me back to the something from nothing idea again. Like, just real quick, like, if they want to say that we believe something came from nothing, they're the ones that believe that, even if they think that God created the universe from nothing, which is not supported by the Bible at all. But even if they think that, then where did their God come from? I know they'll say, well, that God is outside of time, and God is not susceptible to physical laws. Well, that's just special pleading, which is a horrible logical fallacy. And you're basically saying that we don't have the answer for these things. You have the answer, and no matter what, the answer that you have can't be questioned. That doesn't work. If you want to know, if we have to describe where this universe came from, you got to describe where your God came from. And if your God can be eternal, why can't the universe just be eternal? That's the only difference between those two ideas, is that what I'm saying is eternal is what we know is here. What you're saying is eternal is something that none of us you can't prove. So you can't use that argument to prove it. It doesn't work. And with the fine tuning thing, like, even if I mean, even if we were finely tuned for life, uh, and we had to be designed, every design has a designer, they say. Well, what designed that designer? You're not answering anything by saying that. You're just pushing the question farther down the road and then special pleading for that designer. That's it's not logical in any way. Uh, you know what? I have not checked on Facebook if we got any comments or anything. I'm an idiot. Oh, Chelsea Lee, what up? I'm sorry, Chelsea. I just saw your comments. I'm sorry. I've been quite negligent of the Facebook stream. Oh, what happened? So yeah, Chelsea, you said 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. I'm still slowly gaining over on Instagram. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm so grateful for the 1,000 subscribers. It felt so far away. 2-3 years ago when I was first really trying to pick up momentum with this, it seemed like 1,000 subscribers was so far away. So I'm grateful for that. Uh, and I also recently got monetized on Facebook, able to actually make money from the ad revenue. So I thought that was really cool. And I think that was about 2 months ago I got approved for that finally. So I've just been posting. And I've made like, I think $3 or $4. So that's pretty cool. But and I have other platforms where I have well over 1,000 followers, but like, YouTube is the one that I'm really looking for because I'm pretty sure their monetization program is superior. Uh, you get paid more per view or for the watch time over on YouTube. That from what I understand, they pay out the best. So that's what I'm really looking for. I haven't been too good with Instagram. That's the one that I stay away from the most. That and X or whatever. Those are the two that I just don't have time. I'm not Gary V. I can't post 500 things on 50 different platforms every day. So, my main focus is YouTube, Facebook, and I've been working on TikTok a bit because there's a lot of love over on TikTok. I'm not gonna lie. So, I mean, by far my highest viewed video is over on TikTok. Crazy. I think I got like more than 360,000 views on the one over there and a lot of interesting comments and feedback from people. So, if it helps spread the message, then I'm all about it. But yeah, thank you, Chelsea. Uh so how long we been? Okay, I'm just over an hour now. All right, I'm probably gonna keep. I'm gonna. I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna hop down. I'm not live over on TikTok at the moment, so we're good on that. I do have. Once I get my computer set up, I'll be able to use my phone to stream from TikTok, so I'll be able to do all three at the same time. Right now, Facebook and YouTube are the ones I'm trying to keep my momentum with the most anyway. They're the only ones with any hope of getting any payouts from. So until I start making or having the potential at least to make money on TikTok, I don't have much incentive to even go live over there. I mean, I will though. I will. We'll make it there one day. But yeah, I don't know, that's pretty much it. I don't know, there's more questions I have here that I could answer, but I'll probably just end up recording individual videos for every one of these topics because I think they deserve it. I didn't know that so many people still thought that the Big Bang says, something came from nothing. I didn't realize that I know that was an argument like 100 years ago, 80, maybe even being generous, I'd say 80 years ago. But I thought the world was well past that. I didn't think that there was any reason for me to ever argue against a flat earth. I thought, that was a waste of time. No one really believes that. I think it's more of a distraction, if anything. But then I realized why so many people believe it is because the Bible supports it. And, a few people told me that, and I'm like, but there's so many hardcore Christians that don't believe in a flat earth. Well, just like Christians do with everything else, they just reinterpret the words to make it fit their already held belief system. And that's what they've done with this, because the Bible does support a flat earth, and I'll go through that. And there's, especially now reading some of the extra biblical literature. Like I said, I'm working on the Apocrypha right now, and also reading some of the Talmudic writings from the rabbis. Uh, yeah, they all thought the earth was flat without question, and the Bible supports it. There's a bunch of different lines of evidence in the Bible to support a flat earth. There's nothing in the Bible to show that they thought the earth was a sphere at all. And so that's why that's part of the reason why there's so many flat earthers these days, is because they want to believe the Bible literally. So I didn't realize that 2-3 years ago when I was just getting into this. I think I mentioned at one point that I'm not even gonna bother addressing the flat earth arguments because they're just a waste of time and a distraction. And there's such a small percentage of the population that believes it anyway, it's not even worth it. I was wrong. I was very wrong about that. I was completely wrong about that. There's actually a lot more people than I realized, and the majority of them, from what I see and from who I've talked to, believe the earth is flat because it's supported by the Bible. So yeah, let's throw out that nonsense. We don't need all that. So I'll be making a video on that. Pascal's wager is another one I'll be making a video on. The question of morality, if we don't have an ultimate grounding for our reality, then where does it come from? I got into a lot of that in my video on the history of spirit, but I'm going to talk more colloquially about that, just in a more broad sense about, where I believe our morality comes from. And then just history. We're going to go through a lot of different biblical and just a lot of different history. So I got some ideas for some videos coming up, but first I got to finish the psychology of symbolism and then the symbols and their meanings. Those are the next two big ones. And I'll also have cheat sheets that people can download. I'll put them in the link tree. I'm working on the first cheat sheet for the psychology of symbolism right now, so we will get that done. And then when I get the symbols and their meanings, when I get that video done, I'll have a full comprehensive cheat sheet that'll be free and easy for people to download. So that's pretty much it. Okay, I'm not. Yeah, that's cool. So that's what we're looking for in the future. I think I'm going to call it a night now. I just keep yapping, so, I could be up here all night, but I got to get some rest. I got a busy day tomorrow. It's my only day off for the week, and I'm lucky when I get a day off for the week, so I got to take full advantage of that. I'll probably be chopping wood most of the day, or at least carrying wood. I got to go load up the trailer, and yeah, it's going to be a busy day tomorrow, and I got to get some sleep. So I do appreciate all you guys. I'll be up for a little while here. I'll be sharing this out, and I'll be going over my notes for the new Psychology of Symbolism video. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys so much. I really do. All the feedback, whether it's, the positive and the negative. Instead of trying to ride that middle neutral road, and it's, well, like you said, Halcyon, I am trying actually still to take the most neutral approach, but instead of being so passive about the religious pushback, I'm just gonna push against it. I will respond. It's about time. I've always been about it too. I've always enjoyed these debates. So that's what we'll be seeing. I'll be inviting people up here, and we'll definitely be getting some live debates going. So I appreciate it, all you beautiful people, for all the love that you guys share. I'm very grateful. It feels great just to be able to get these messages out there, and just to feel like I'm contributing to the world in some way beyond what I do at my job and with my kids. This hopefully will affect the future and will affect the world that my kids live in. So I think these conversations are important, and I know I'm not alone when I feel that. So thank you, people. I'm gonna call it a night. Peace and much love, and stay true, stay curious, and always keep dreaming. Good night.